All right, from the frosty shores of the North Saskatchewan River, right here in scenic Prince Albert, this is your host, Scott Roos, and you are listening to Down to the River radio show. And speaking of cold, I have the one and only Mean Mary on the line today, hopefully to chat about her recently released record of the same name. How are you doing, Mary?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Scott?
Good, good. I've really been looking forward to our chat. It's strange in this day and age how people come to know artists because I got to know your music on Google Play and just playing
Oh,
random.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not.
Oh, wow. Okay. Usually, YouTube it seems to be the biggie, for people that my shows and stuff. Well, I found you on YouTube, so I'm thankful for YouTube.
Yeah. Well, now you have a banjo video that's about 55 seconds long that sort of I guess made you internet famous on YouTube. Am I right?
Yeah, that was the big help. That fast banjo. I guess people were searching for fast banjo, and that one caught on there. So
Yeah.
I can't complain.
For sure. Yeah. Well, now I've also been, reading your bio and whatnot and discovering quite a
Uh
number
huh.
of amazing facts. So many, as a matter of fact, that I'm not even sure where to start. But I mean, you were raised in rather unique circumstances from my reading of your bio.
Yes, I had a very I guess nomadic childhood. You could say I had interesting parents that were very adventuresome. So I spent time up in northern Minnesota, right near the Canadian border there,
Yeah.
and it was a hoot. No electricity, and we built a log cabin with just an axe and all that fun stuff. And then of course the music has been a whole adventure in itself from there on.
Yeah, well, I would imagine now, being away from civilization a bit and also away from those worldly distractions, it kind of probably enabled you at a very young age to discover and develop your craft.
Yeah, definitely. I would say just growing up in the country and making your all my siblings have very strong personalities. We had a lot of time to kind of cultivate our own own way of doing things without being influenced. I guess lots of times in the city and around other people, you kind of do get that kind of vibe. But yeah, we were kind of free to be crazy, I guess you could say. So I had a really good childhood. I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I would be remiss if I didn't mention now, like your father was a World War II veteran, and it's coming up on at least the
Yeah.
Canadian Remembrance Day, but I think in the United States you call this Veterans Day. So, I mean, do you tend to
Yes.
give
Uh-huh.
pause on a weekend such as this?
Oh, definitely. But my whole my older siblings went into the military, and my dad being a World War II vet, I mean, it's always been something I respect greatly and always remember. It's my husband's father, of course, was in the military and fought. Um, but yeah, it's a little unusual to because my dad was so much older than my mom,
Right.
and I was. He was 60 when I was born, so I'm quite proud though that my dad was a World War II vet. He was great, great guy, really was.
Yeah, yeah. My grandfather served in World War II, and I was
Hmm.
sort of raised as a an army brat just because of that. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
never served, but I certainly was raised to respect my grandfather's sacrifice. He was quite severely wounded in the war, ended up losing his leg. So,
Oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of
yeah.
sacrifices were made that we take for granted. So, but I'm thankful for all those folks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now, just pivoting, to the music. I know at a very young age you picked up a guitar and you're a multi-instrumentalist as your music, conveys. But I mean, I guess my primary curiosity is your vocal style. I mean, I'm sure people have brought up comparisons to Joan Baez, but I mean, have you ever, did you grow up with Joan's music or even like, Canadian artists like Buffy Sainte Marie? Because there's a pretty strong sound there that you portray in your music.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I do hear a lot of various comparisons like that. But I actually I grew up listening to a lot of male vocalists. So
Yeah.
and when I was a kid, my brother in the military had sent back this this cassette tape that he'd had. He made this like mixtape back in the day, and we didn't have electricity, so this little battery powered tape player, and it was like Hank Williams Jr. and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And Dolly Parton was on there, but that's the kind of the stuff that I as a very young kid started like singing to and doing all the vocal instrumentation. That's kind of when my parents realized I was musically inclined.
Yeah.
And then I even had like a little Hank Williams Jr. act where I wore like the Bocephus like shades and the cowboy hat, and they wrote some articles like in the footsteps of Hank Williams Jr. And I
Yeah.
met him when I was about 6 and got on his tour bus. But yeah, it was like, and then I was a big Elvis fan, so I was exposed to a lot of different music via the sheet music,
Yeah.
and as I tell folks, that my influences were mostly from the music itself because I learned a lot of my music from reading music, and we'd get all these books of sheet music, and I would go through them and I'd read them because I learned how to read music very early,
Yeah.
and then I would pick out the songs that I liked, and they like James Taylor, and those are the ones that I added to my repertoire. So I kind of
Yeah.
was influenced by the music itself and had a chance kind of to develop just how I wanted to do it myself.
Wow. Well, now there's an interesting fact too, is, so many, artists of your ilk and genre and style are sort of self-taught non-music readers. So I'm curious, or interested in the fact that you actually can, quote unquote, read music. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fast music reader these days. Well, I started off reading music, and then as as you do that, then you start playing more by ear and
Sure.
writing my own music these days. So now when I read music, and I have to write on occasion like my own music into like banjo tablature and stuff, which is much easier than writing out sheet music. But still, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's da 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 da. Now how does that? I'm sitting there and okay, that's a quarter note. That's it. I'm trying to figure out what to do there and sitting
Sure.
back, and it's a pain in the neck. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I should have stuck with that a little bit better the last few years.
Well, the music reading knowledge that you do have obviously has served you well, and it's a communication tool, right? I mean, I'm sure in your early days when you had to rely on somebody else to produce your music, that knowledge of music came in handy.
It really did. It really did. That was a great way for me to start off by learning how to read music and learning songs and instrumentals. And I still play some tunes that I learned from the sheet music. Back when I was 6, 7 years old. So I still I go back to that, and it's like, wow, that really just the arrangement of it or whatever that helped, and kind of make me write my own stuff today, kind of to see how it all works out and how the notes fall into place and that
Yeah.
stuff. So it was a good way to learn.
Yeah, well, I mean, fast forwarding now up to, present time, like I mentioned off the top, your most recent full length, I think your fifth one, Cold, came out October
Yeah.
4th, and just, having had a chance to sample several other of your songs and albums, this one seems to be a bit of a change in direction and sound. It seems more like it's a bit of a straight ahead folk record compared to maybe some of the other stuff that might have had a bit more rootsy or bluegrass kind of tinge to them. Was that a kind of deliberate sort of turn, or?
Well, I've always been kind of like I'm kind of open as far as genres. I've never held myself to a particular genre, and I guess all my albums are kind of a mesh of various things. Just whatever inspires me is what I write and what I do.
Yeah.
And this album, though, I'd had a lot of songs. The whole album theme is kind of a little darker
Yeah.
and maybe a little more moody. And I had these songs, and it just kind of fell into place that way. So it might be a little more consistently that way with that feel. But of course, I do have some throw in some faster banjo there and that,
Yeah,
that kind
no.
of stuff too. But yeah, it definitely. I really wanted to feel the theme of of the Cold album and the longing and all that. So the songs do have that vibe.
Yeah, it almost comes off like it's a concept record, although I'm sure you maybe didn't intentionally plan it that way, or maybe you did.
To some degree, I wanted it to kind of tell a story because nowadays, as they say, music has changed so much when people are releasing like singles, and it doesn't, the full album is not so important as it used to be because, in modern days, people just expect you to keep making songs and releasing things out on Spotify and that kind of stuff. So when you do an album, it seems like it should be, something that tells a story kind of all together. Like all the songs are kind of like a whole theme to me anyway. So I really wanted this album to kind of have that vibe where when you sit down and listen to it, it takes you into just one long continuous story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, thinking of some of your other past releases, I mean, there's definite storytelling in a song like Iron Horse or even Rose Tattoo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do like to tell my story.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the songs on this one, like Rainy Day, for instance. What can you tell us about that?
Oh well, that's an unusual. There's two songs actually on this album that were kind of unusual because they were songs that I wrote way back when I was just when I was really young,
Uh huh.
and they were songs I didn't play because you're like really young, and so the lyrics are not exactly there. So they're ones that I revisited with my mom, and we kind of took like the basic song again and just kind of revised it, and that would be "Rainy Day" and "Sad November Breeze,"
Oh,
and
okay.
just kind of just had the idea and just rewrote it. Now more mature, a more mature mind, rewriting the same theme. So both those songs, I'm really happy we did that, and I like both of them a lot. They're one of my two of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, there's another interesting fact that not only does your mother help you co-write songs, but I think the shoes on the other foot when you help her write books. I think that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, it's worked out because she's always been a very talented writer, and she's never pursued music, but she is musically inclined. She's somebody who's always like humming a tune. Even when you're talking to her, she's annoyingly humming at the same time while you're talking to her.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
hears every word, but she's got to sing. But yeah, she's very musically inclined that way. It's probably part of the reason where I got my music from. But she was hadn't really pursued writing. She had 6 kids, and my parents did all this kind of adventuresome. She caught snakes for a while, and there's
Yeah.
so many stories. But I was actually when I was about with the songwriting, and then when I was about 16, I was working on a screenplay, and it really kind of encouraged my mom to see me kind of writing, and she kind of got back into the writing, and that's when we started doing the books together again. So that was good. I was glad I kind of encouraged her there to inspire her to start writing again. So I'm happy about that. We enjoy writing the novels, and it's been a nice success. A little something different along with the music to make life exciting.
The book, incidentally, that you guys just put out is called Sparrow Alone on the Housetop. Came out November 1st,
Hmm.
and I'm just looking at Amazon.com now as we were talking, and it is available on paperback for a pretty, modest price. So I guess we can plug
Yeah.
that and say if you like all things Mean Mary, then definitely go and check out the book Sparrow Alone on the Housetop by Jean James and Mary James. You can find it on
Oh.
Amazon.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, definitely do that. That was actually the first, our very first book that we got published. And it was through a publisher, a small, independent publisher, but it was published. And now the, gosh, that was a few years ago, and we've published books since then. And so it was re-released to us to get the rights to it. So we decided to publish it through our own publishing house this time. So that's why
Aha.
we have it available now, and it has a very decent price and all that stuff. So yeah,
Actually,
get more readers in
it's
there.
funny just as you're talking about that, I'm like, oh, August 24th, 2011. Here it is in a different release. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
you
That's
you
right.
caught me in a small research error, Mary. It doesn't happen very often.
No worries. No, it's
But
definitely our new book. We've redone it, the cover, and
yeah,
done some re-edits and stuff. But it's good to have it under our own publishing house and
for
get to
sure.
re-release it that way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, now speaking of Sparrow, I mean, you've got a song on the new record called Sparrow. So I mean, is there any relation between the book and the song?
Um, yeah, well, actually, I have um, a song. I'm working on a band album. I have a band, Mean Mary and the Contraries, and it's a little more rock and roll, where I play a little more electric.
Oh,
And there's a song on that album called. We were into sparrows. I don't know how it started, but it did. And that it's actually called Sparrow Alone, and it's actually kind of to do with the book. But this song actually morphed from it's a long story, but from another song from that we were writing, and it just kind of had its own, spread its own wings and became its own entity. And so the Sparrow song is kind of based off of the Sparrow Alone song we wrote, but it's its own thing. I know that's confusing, but what can you say?
Yeah.
As a writer, our minds go in weird directions, and it doesn't always make sense. But
Yeah.
we have fun.
Well, now, where does your creative muse start when you're writing songs? I mean, do you have to be in a certain place or a certain headspace in order to get things done?
Well, it depends. I'm on songs a lot of times. I'm kind of very the melody kind of drives me. It's kind of I get the tune or and just a line or something or a thought in my head. But then other times these story songs they come other ways. I'm really open as far as my creative process. It helps when I'm not completely busy working in like the business aspect of the music career. Like I'm not sitting here, doing social media or having to work out the tour or
Yeah.
logistics, and even sometimes on the road, it's just so much because you're doing shows and you have no free time, no time to really think. But driving is a great time to kind of free your mind. But yeah, it happens. It just the mood kind of sweeps over you, and but you do. It seems like I do have to take time to let myself breathe a little to start being creative.
Yeah. How do you know when a song is finished?
Well, when you're tired of writing it, right? No, I mean, I think you just, when because and sometimes songwriting not as intense, but sometimes when you co-write, especially on the books, it's good to have a co-writer sometimes because they kind of keep you from being lazy. It's like, yeah, that line right there, that could be better. That could be a little better. Let's revisit this line here. So sometimes working with me and my mom on songs, or just in writing in general, is good. We keep each other, sharp. But I think it's kind of a natural thing. You can't, the perfectionist, and you just can't be satisfied unless you're happy with it. It might not be perfect, but as long as you feel like this is the line, it's like until you've got that right feel, everything's gelled the way you want it to.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You gotta keep working on it.
For sure. Well, now I'd be remiss if I didn't mention your brother Frank, who plays guitar on 4 tracks on this record. And when I go in and I go into your website, meanmary.com/cold, if you want to look at a bit of a write up on this record, it sort of specifically underscores that Frank is adding his unusual guitar style and harmonies. So, I mean, given the fact that you do have a bit of a background in music, I mean, what exactly does that mean, unusual guitar style and harmonies, Mary?
Well, you've never met Frank. He's just unusual in his own right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank is he's definitely his own entity there and the music, and he offers a very unique aspect to things. I think his guitar playing. I mean, we were playing when we were kids. He played a lot of shows I did. I started playing solo, but then he was playing guitar with me, and we were playing music like historical 1800s, like these long dances, where you got to play a 30-minute, dance where people are doing like a Virginia reel. And that really kind of, let us kind of develop our own way of playing. And Frank's got a really, and I don't brag on my brother very often because, he's my brother.
Yeah.
But he's a really great rhythm guitar player. I mean, he's a good lead guitar player too. And he's got a low voice, so he's a little more of a bass So it's kind of funny doing harmonies with him sometimes because you got that low, kind of like Frank. Let's go a little higher here. But yeah, he offers. He has a very unique personality, and when we tour live, people really love him because he's like a comedian up there on stage. So
Yeah. Well, no.
yeah. Whenever he's involved, yes, it's unusual.
So which of the four tracks does he play with you on Cold?
He's on Dark Woods, Sparrow, Quoth the Mockingbird, and gosh, what's the other one that he's done? What songs are what what songs are on this album?
Okay, hold on.
Oh God.
You've got I Fell Into the Night, Rainy Day, Dark Woods. You mentioned he was on that one. Then you have
he was on Dark Woods.
You've got the 8-minute long epic Cold, House by the Sea, which
Cold. Yeah.
I think the
he wouldn't have had attention span for that one.
Yeah, I mean, and not to sidestep talking about Frank, but one thing I noticed about Cold is it kind of has a bit of a House of the Rising Sun intro in the guitar track, which I found interesting. I don't know if that's been pointed out before.
Yeah. I guess I do, or maybe lean towards that way. It's people mentioned House of the Rising Sun before sometimes. Yeah, it's a waltz time there, but yeah, it's one of my long story songs that I like to write. I tried to keep it short, but
yeah,
what can I say? It was better than my Year of the Sparrow album because I think I had almost 10 minutes on that one, the Death of the Maiden song.
Yeah.
So I beat the time.
Yeah. So
Frank was on Forevermore. It's the instrumental at the very end.
Right. Yeah.
That was the fourth one I couldn't think of. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, now the only other thing I was going to just mention really quickly now is, this one, and I'm not sure how many of your previous outings you've produced yourself, but this one in particular, you did produce yourself. So, I mean, Mary James, AKA Mean Mary, the producer, I mean, oftentimes producers will be that kind of, third or, other person in the room that's going to, cut the fat off songs. So, I mean, how do you characterize your own, role as a producer, given that you've got an 8-minute long song on this one?
Well, that's the beauty of it. And I've produced all my albums, actually. I'm just one of those people that it would be, I don't know if I would work well with others when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't take suggestions always that well, but no, I love the freedom of that. I mean, it should be about the music. I don't know, it's a commercial business.
Yeah.
And and you want to play it up to radio and stuff, but luckily, it's with the internet and things. Things have changed. And you don't have to have, just a 3-minute song and pitch it to a record company and go that route and have to, all the middlemen involved. No, you go straight to the audience, and we all have different things we like. And I figure, if I like something, even if it's 8 minutes and 16 seconds, there's going to be somebody else there that wants to listen to an 8-minute, 16-second song, and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. For sure. Well, and I mean, I'm giving you a hard time about the length of that song, but I mean, in reality, it's brilliant, and I really enjoy that one. And you made a video to that one too, I should add.
Yeah, we did. That wasn't actually, I wasn't going to do a video for that one. We were actually supposed to shoot a Rainy Day next, and couldn't get any rain, and so we decided we had the ocean, so we decided to go for it. Felt like making a mini movie. It was I'll never do that again. It was good. I'm glad we did. That was an important song to me on the album, and I kind of, a lot of people might not catch what the song's actually about until maybe listening to it a few times. So the video kind of helped, I think, a little bit for people to catch what the whole song's about.
So what makes that an important song to you, Mary?
Well, I was working on that one when I was in Europe last year on tour, and it was a tough tour, especially because I was traveling with Frank, and and a lot of shows and not a lot of stress, and show and drive all over Europe, and I sat back on my journal, and I just, that song the whole story kind of came to me that way, that daydreaming kind of thing you do when you sit back and
Right.
pencil and paper, and I started working on that song, and I just felt like that kind of inspired me to want to do the whole album, the whole Cold album itself. So,
Oh,
and all these
wow.
songs that I'd had that like Sad November Breeze and Snow Falling, they were actually songs that I'd already written that have been kind of sitting around because they hadn't fit a project yet. I really love these songs, so that song kind of pulled it all together to me, and yeah, so I was really happy to do this project because it's kind of my personality in a lot of ways. I mean,
Sure.
I'm kind of a upbeat, happy kind of person, but I do like my dark, moody stuff. I enjoy that, and so it was nice making an album
Yeah.
that kind of had that feel to it.
For sure. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you much longer, but I mean, we should probably talk about where the best place would be, probably to listen or perhaps purchase your music and your books for that matter, Mary. If you just want to throw out a couple
Oh,
of links or places that we can go to real quick.
well, definitely my website, meanmary.com. But yeah, I would love for people. I mean, buy them wherever they like to buy their music or their books. Amazon, iTunes. Listen on Spotify.
Right on.
And yeah, as you said, the album's called Cold, so I guess that's been covered. And yeah, definitely find me on YouTube too. Watch the videos. We have a music video out for Dark Woods and Cold, the House by the Sea. So and there's more to come. So yeah, I love it when people subscribe to my YouTube channel because it's been growing, and I was excited that we made 50,000 subscribers here recently, and I want to get it up there. So.
Yeah, yeah, right on. Well, given the fact that you started young, I mean, what's your, advice to people, young people that want to kind of get out and do what you do?
Well, just well, obviously you got to work hard, and I think people should just, believe in themselves. And there's so many people that have negative things or things to say to you online or in person, and I just, everybody's different, everybody's unique. So I think people should embrace, creatively what they are instead of we always worry about other artists or how successful they are or what they're doing and how we need to be like this person or do it that way or whatever. And I think people should just do what they do because this is a big world and we've got room for everybody and all sorts of music and all sorts of styles. So the whole thing. Believe in yourself. Be unique.
Right on. Well, listen, Mary, it's definitely been a pleasure and an honor chatting with you today.
Oh,
Thanks for
thank you.
taking the trip down to the river with me.
Sure thing, anytime.
Right on. Well, you have a good day.
You too.
Okay, bye bye.